To be fair, he probably doesn't realise that he's had that much of an impact on everything. But Briggsy is probably one of the biggest influences and reasons why I've got as far as I've got. I don't think I'd ever have done as well in Las Vegas if it wasn't for him. Um, I mean, the opportunities that he's given me first and foremost, um, even starting off the journey by putting me in the Anarchy tournament, that was a massive thing because there was some big names originally for it until there was a couple of pullouts. So I owe Briggsy an awful lot, and I have told him that if I was to ever, I'd look at, in some way, shape, or form later down the line, I will repay the favour and return it for him. He's the guy that keeps my feet on the ground as well, and yeah, he's genuinely like one of my best friends in this as well. Like, I genuinely have a lot of love for him. I think he's probably the nicest bloke I've ever met in my life. So it's nice to have him around. I get a lot of inspiration off Shotty. I can literally just sit in a room with Shotty and listen to him talk for 10 minutes, and then I want to elevate my entire life. Because again, he's a very, very big inspiration. He's a very popular figure. He's someone that I look up to and aspire to, replicate the success of as well. And he's very similar minded to me in the sense that when he has an idea, he wants to pursue it straight away, and I'm exactly the same. And in previous years, I've always been, put off by doing it. Like, maybe it's too late to try and do that. Whereas with Shotty, which is something I've always said about him, is that when he gets something in his head, he'll pursue it and see if it goes anywhere. No matter how old he is, or no matter, how ridiculous the idea might sound when you first say it out loud, he'll always, give it a go. And I have utmost respect for him for doing that.
And the pro that you are, you've actually led into the final tweet that I earmarked for you, which is, quote, Bison Briggs is the UK's biggest asset for battle rap. The moment you completely take away his motivation to push this scene forward and back where it belongs, he goes and everything will go with it. I mean, you've said it there. I mean, everyone speaks so highly of him as not only as a performer and a writer, but also just as a leader, as a person, as a source of energy and, like you say, pushing things. So it's remarkable that he isn't that held in that regard, and that he's someone that means as much to you, given again what you've achieved in a relatively short amount of time. Since 2 or 3 years is is a long time in battle rap terms, obviously, but in terms of the grand scheme of life, like 3 years is nothing. So the fact that you've done everything and he's been a part of that, I'm sure that means the world to him, man.
He is the biggest asset, and I think a lot of people don't understand some of the things that he's had to overcome in order to get Premier battles where it's at. And I think 9 times out of 10, someone would have just thrown the towel in and been like, no, I'm just going to go and do something else. And if he'd have done that on a number of occasions, walk away from it scot-free, then there wouldn't be a Bizzo Bond. We wouldn't be on this podcast right now. There wouldn't be any hype. There wouldn't be New Jersey Twerk versus Shotty Horror happening. You wouldn't have events in London and Manchester regularly. We owe a lot to him because he's persevered with it. And I think this is this year and next year is the year where he finally starts, reaping the rewards of that perseverance. I hope so. Anyway, I've tried to do as much as I can possible in the last 2 years to get us to that stage. Just so he can get some sort of return out of it. But in terms of how big an asset he is, I mean, I've seen nights where he's just deflated at being let down by certain people and circumstances and things like that, where he genuinely doesn't want to carry it on anymore. And it's very difficult to persuade someone to come out of a mindset like that. But he's dragged himself out of it for a number of times now, which is a commendable thing, and it's something that a lot of people should be thankful for as well. I certainly am. I'd be fucked if Bison Briggs left UK battle rap. Wouldn't know what to do. Wouldn't know where to go. Wouldn't know. You know, he's literally like my business manager. He's my advice, my motivator. He keeps me on the straight and narrow. I mean, the amount of times where I'm doubting myself or material and things like that, and I have to speak to someone, I'll always go to Briggsy first and foremost. Yeah, he's a top bloke, man. He's a top bloke. I have nothing but love for him.